Hey guys, I'm Ryan, and on this episode of Baking with Ryan, I'm making a candy sprinkle cake. This cake is completely covered in sprinkles, and I decorated it with 4 different types of candy. It's also totally customizable. Today, I even put a chocolate drip going down the sides. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The ingredients you'll need to make the cake are 3 8-inch cakes, I'm using red velvet, and 3 6-inch cakes. You'll also need chocolate buttercream, heavy whipping cream, chocolate chips, rainbow sprinkles, and don't forget you'll need a ton of candy. For this recipe, I'm using assorted candies and some rainbow lollipops to top it off. I got all of this candy from one of my favorite services ever. It's a monthly subscription called Candy Club, which sends you candy in the mail every month. Every month, they curate a new package of candy just for you. This month, for example, I chose the sour candies. For the month of September, the package included gummy pigs, rainbow belts, and also gummy cherries. This video is sponsored by Candy Club. If you're interested in being sent candy every month, check out the link in the description below. Also, you guys are so lucky because Candy Club is giving you 50% off your purchase and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code BAKING50 at checkout. If you wanted, you could totally just eat all this candy, that's a great option, but today I decided to decorate a cake with it, so here's how it's done. Begin by leveling the cake. I like to do this using a cake leveler, but you could also use a serrated knife. Repeat this process with all 6 cakes. It's time to assemble the cake. Begin by placing a cake board on top of a cake turntable and then spread down some chocolate frosting. Then place on the first layer. Following that, use an ice cream scoop to measure out 3 scoops of chocolate frosting. The reason why I'm using an ice cream scoop is to ensure that there's an equal amount of frosting between each layer. Be sure to use the same amount of frosting between the other layers too. After that, smooth out the frosting using an offset spatula. Following that, place on another 8-inch cake. Then, just repeat the process. Be sure to place on the last layer of cake upside down. This will ensure that your cake has perfectly sharp edges. Next, use a spatula to scoop a ton of buttercream on top. At first, this may seem like a lot, but it's actually the perfect amount. Once the frosting begins to hang over the side of the cake, you can start frosting the sides. Right now, I'm using an offset spatula to frost the cake. This is my favorite cake decorating tool. When your cake is completely covered in frosting, we can move on to the next step. To smooth out the frosting, hold a bench scraper to the side of the cake. Then begin spinning the turntable. You can do this as many times as you want until the frosting is smooth. After the sides are frosted, there will be some frosting that's sticking up. You can use a small offset spatula to smooth out this frosting. Now, refrigerate the cake for 20 minutes or until it's firm to the touch. While the 8-inch cake is in the fridge, you can begin assembling the 6-inch cake. Then, place on the first layer. Just like before, frost the cake using an ice cream scoop. Instead of 3 scoops, I'm using 2 scoops for the 6-inch cake. Place on the second layer and repeat the process. Remember to place on the last layer upside down. Just like before, pile a bunch of chocolate buttercream on top of the cake. Once again, use a bench scraper to smooth out the frosting. Now, place the 6-inch cake in the fridge and take out the 8-inch cake. It's time to cover the cake in sprinkles. Begin by pouring an entire container of rainbow sprinkles into a large sheet pan. Now, before covering the cake in sprinkles, give it a thin coat of chocolate buttercream. Once the cake is frosted, we can roll it in sprinkles. Begin by placing an 8-inch cake board face down on top. After that, flip the cake upside down. Then, peel off the bottom cake board and replace it with another 8-inch cake board. Before we cover it in sprinkles, be sure to secure the cake to the cake board using more frosting. Then quickly turn the cake on its side and roll it in sprinkles. Now peel off the top cake board and cover it in another layer of frosting. Once the top is covered, you can decorate it with more sprinkles. As supports for the cake, place 4 straws into the bottom tier. Next, take the 6-inch cake out of the fridge and frost it with more chocolate frosting. Then cover the 6-inch cake in sprinkles. I found that an easier way to cover the cake in sprinkles is to press sprinkles along the sides. Once again, finish the sprinkle covering process by covering the top of the cake in sprinkles. Next, make the chocolate ganache drip. Begin by pouring hot heavy cream over the chocolate chips in a medium bowl. Then place a piece of plastic wrap over the bowl and let it sit for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, peel off the plastic wrap and whisk together the mixture until it forms a ganache. Once you've made the ganache drip, pour it into a squeeze bottle and start adding drips to the cake. The more pressure that you apply, the farther down the drip will go. Finish it off by covering the top of the cake in more chocolate ganache. Then spread it out with an offset spatula. Now place the 6-inch cake directly in the center of the 8-inch cake. Once again, pipe out more drips going down the sides, and also cover the top in more chocolate ganache. It's time to turn this normal cake into a candy cake. Begin by placing candy on the edge between the top and the bottom cake. All that I did is alternate between the 3 candies that I got from Candy Club. There's so many different types of candy that you can get from Candy Club. This time I'm going with the sour candies. To decorate the top of the cake, place rainbow lollipops in the center. The final step to decorating the cake is placing more candy on top. You can do this however you want. And the cake is done. All that's left now is to cut into it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Also, comment down below what cake you want me to make next. If you're interested in getting candy shipped to you in the mail every single month, check out the link in the description below. Also guys, remember that you can get 50% off your purchase using the code BAKING50.